Right, hello. I think we're live now. I'm sorry about that. A little bit of an issue. Welcome to the show. This is a No State Project Reloaded. This is a live show. I'm your host, Vin James. This is Darkcity Radio. And thanks again for tuning in. Well, sorry for the late start today. There was a little tech issue on my side, and I wasn't able to get the show posted up quick enough to get it started at 1 o'clock. But we managed to get the show started by 2. So, but apologies for that. And I'm going live now. I'll be going up till 6 o'clock. So, I haven't got as long as usual this week. But I've got a few stories and things to share with you. So, I really need to find out on the website how to get the chat room box up because I can't find it for the life of me. So, if somebody could please post me a link up for that, and I can actually see what's being said in the chat room because apparently we've got one, but I'm not going to find it. So, right, here we go, and I'll see if anybody's got any questions and stuff that they're posting up. So, right, well, this week, I don't know if you listened to Mark's show. Hopefully, you've got to listen to most of Mark's show. Today, the repeat again from last night. You had some good people calling into the show again, and as you can see, we're still dealing with petty stuff, traffic, and whatnot. And Mark's offered to help a lot of people out this week, and offered to make calls to certain bureaucrats to help them deal with these issues. And this is something I've been offering people as well. So, if you are dealing with some sort of attack, council attacks, HMRC, or anything like that, I'll do this for free, and I try and help as many people out as I can. What we do is, well, if you contact me, we can do some calls to these people. We record the calls obviously because we have to do that for our own protection. And what we do is we just basically start firing certain questions that I'm asking them for facts, and we usually find it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in, they all tend to act the same way. Sometimes you get a few surprises out of them, but generally, that when it comes to actually asking these people for facts, you soon find they haven't got any, and you get them quite flustered, and they lose credibility quite quickly. So, give me a sec. I'm trying to get up the link, and it's not playing for me. I don't know why that is. There's something wrong with my laptop here. It's not allowing me to open up any links on Skype, which is a bit of a nuisance. There you go. Right, so story I was going to start off with this week. It's in the paper here. This was in yesterday's Daily Mail. I take it's probably been all over the news anyway, and I don't watch telly myself anyway. So, but it's to do with allegedly the UK has lost its AAA credit rating for the first time. Now, this is just more propaganda and lies, of course, coming out of the out of these institutions. And the thing that I was told a few years back when we ended up with the general election and supposedly had a hung jury, we allegedly lost our AAA credit rating then, or at least this corporation, this whole fiction allegedly called the UK or whatever. Because apparently when that happens to any country in the world where a government can't be decided on and you're stuck in limbo, you automatically lose your credit rating. And apparently England had at that time a AAA credit rating anyway. And supposedly that last election cost us that anyway. I don't believe it was ever mentioned. Now they're claiming we lost our AAA credit rating on on Friday. And it's because of the recession and this, that, and the other. But of course, it's all propaganda. It's all a pack of lies. I mean, credit rating for what? All this money allegedly comes from the Bank of England anyway. London is the financial hub of the world, or known as the financial control centre of the world. How can the UK suddenly lose all its credit rating? It lends money to itself. It's the Bank of England and all this crap, isn't it? It gives itself money. So how is it going to turn around and call itself a bad credit risk? It's ridiculous. I mean, this is all, of course, bull at the end of the day. But this is one of the articles that's come up in the paper. I'll read a little bit to you in a minute. So I'm still trying to get up this link, and it's not having it. Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing about this whole issue of credit and AAA ratings and whatever. I mean, basically, what they're saying is that the government has lost any ability to be able to get credit, which is codswallop because all the only way a bank can operate and keep control over another government is to keep it borrowing all the time. So they're still going to lend them money, or what they'll do is they'll supposedly lend them the money and just keep whacking the interest rates up. All the money that doesn't exist, the principal can never be paid back, and therefore the interest can never be paid back. And it's just to keep an organisation called government in perpetual slavery itself, in that sense, to a group of people who call themselves bankers, or these elite families, or whatever the hell they call themselves. Right, so, I'll read a little bit of this article to you. It's called Britain was stripped of, this from the Daily Mail yesterday's, and it's got Britain was stripped of its coveted AAA credit rating for the first time in history last night. And a humiliating setback for Chancellor George Osborne. Credit rating agency Moody's, never heard of them before, said Britain's sluggish growth prospects and mountainous debts meant it could no longer be considered an impeccable credit risk. A credit risk, and you have you can be an impeccable risk. Apparently, I thought to be impeccable, there was no risk, and yet they're saying there it's a risk. The agency warned that it did not expect Britain's economy to start growing again significantly until the second half of the decade. After the date of the next general election, the Bank of England, which has printed almost 400 billion to try to keep the economy afloat, also lost its AAA status. Bullshit. Basically, speculation has been mounting in recent weeks that Britain's economy must be downgraded, but the decision remains a blow to the coalition's economic plans and is deeply embarrassing to Mr. Osborne, who staked his credibility on retaining Britain's AAA rating. Well, not politicians have any credibility anyway. In February 2010, just months before taking control of the Treasury, Mr. Osborne declared our first benchmark is to cut the deficit more quickly to safeguard Britain's credit rating. I know that we are taking a political gamble to set this up as a measure of success. 8 months later, David Cameron boasted that the coalition had dragged the economy out of the danger zone. The downgrade will place a huge pressure on Mr. Osborne to bring forward dramatic measures to boost growth in next month's budget. See, they always pull these things just before a budget. It's all to keep people's attention on something else, because no doubt they're up to something else behind the scenes now. So that's something to watch out for whenever they bring stories like this out. He last night insisted the government will not run away from Britain's economic problems, saying ministers were determined to stick to the strategy of trying to tackle the vast deficit left behind by Labour. Here we go, they just want to blame everyone else. He added, tonight we have a stark reminder of the debt problems facing our country. Well, the thing is, the country isn't the thing that's in debt. It's the individuals that live within it are constantly in debt. And all they're doing is they're just taking away our quality of life, putting us in positions where our debts are mounting up. But the truth of the matter is, this is bullshit that the government or anything like that is in debt to anyone. It isn't. It's the individuals that are being made to suffer, not a country. There are no such things as countries. So far from weakening our resolve to deliver economic recovery plan, this decision redoubles it. We'll go on delivering the plan that has cut the deficit by a quarter and given us record low interest rates and record numbers of jobs that have been lost. Yeah, we are not going to run away from our problems. We're going to overcome them. Yes, okay. I believe that nonsense. Labour is likely to seize on downgradable evidence that the coalition's economic plans are failing. A Labour source said the downgrade is a humiliating blow for the Chancellor, who said keeping a AAA rating was the test of his success. Britain now joins a string of Western countries that have lost their AAA rating in the wake of the global financial crisis. The United States and France both lost the blue ribband status last year, whatever that means. Germany and Canada are now the only major economies still rated AAA. Germany, eh? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? But the UK still retains far higher rating than the battered economies of countries like Greece and Spain. Moody's downgraded the UK. You got to remember, the UK is nothing more than a piece of paper. It's not, it's nothing real. It's not the ground you're standing on. It's got nothing to do with the people. It's got nothing to do with a body. Well, it's a body politic in a sense. That's the only way it exists in other people's minds. But it's just a piece of paper. It's just a construction of the legislative mind, as it's called. The short-term impact is likely to be minimal, and the government's borrowing rates have already nudged up in recent weeks amid market speculation that the downgrade was on the cards. However, it will do nothing to slow the downward drift of the pound on the currency markets, which experts warn risk driving up inflation. Despite the downgrade, Moody's remained cautiously optimistic about the UK's long-term prospectus. He said that there was an expectation that the combination of political will and medium-term fundamental underlying economic strengths would eventually enable the government to start to get Britain's debts under control. He said the UK's creditworthiness remained extremely high, and in warning to Labour and others who argue that the solution is to switch on the spending taps, Moody said it would downgrade the UK further if there was a reduced political commitment to fiscal consolidation, whatever the hell that means. The downgrade placed Mr Osborne under intense political pressure. Some Tories MPs were already privately arguing with Mr Cameron to move the Chancellor in the next cabinet. Reshuffle the Lib Dems ministers are pressing Osborne to do more to stimulate growth, particularly through spending on housing and infrastructure. The Prime Minister has indicated he intends to stick with Mr Osborne until the election. The UK has suffered a double-dip recession since 2008. It grew in the third quarter of last year, boosted by the impact of the Olympics, but shrunk again by 0.3% in the last 3 months of 2012, prompting some experts to warn that there could be unprecedented triple dip. Shadow Chancellor Ed Ball said the downgrade was a humiliating blow to a Prime Minister and Chancellor who said keeping their AAA rating was a test of their economic and political credibility. Well, there you go. But, like I say, in spite of all that and whatever it may say again on other websites, it's obviously a load of old codswallop. We haven't lost anything. It's just a group of people saying, we're not going to lend you money anymore. And at the end of the day, who are the people who lend this money to everyone anyway? The financial hub of all this is London anyway. All the banks are located here. And if countries wanted to start screwing over the economic institutions around London, well, then their countries would suffer as a result. And at the end of the day, as we know, this is all fake money anyway. If the Bank of England can print as much money as it wants for itself, well, it just goes to show you there isn't an issue in reality. So, well, that's one story for this week. I just wanted to read that out to you. But like I say, it appears that apparently, I don't know whether this is true or not, but allegedly we lost that alleged AAA rating, credit rating, when the coalition government came in. And it's the same with Belgium as well. I think Belgium's been without an official government for several years now, because apparently that no one could decide on who was going to have it. So essentially that country's allegedly operating without a government. Obviously the infrastructure's still there, and and people are still forced to pay taxes and whatnot and things like that. So it just goes to show you, regardless of whether you have people claiming to be at the top of the tree and representing you, it makes no difference to how a country is actually operated and run. You don't have to have a group of people called government there. You could still have, all you need is an army and a police force to keep people under control. The rest is just window dressing. The rest is just to keep people distracted from what's really going on. So there you have it. And Belgium's quite a small country actually, and it's probably another little experiment into how these things play out in reality. Because they do like to run these little experiments every now and then, as we see. Because the same as the Stanford prison experiment, they run many experiments like this. The War of the Worlds radio broadcast that kicked off, I believe, in the 1950s or maybe the 1960s. That was a put up job to see how people react to a possible alien invasion. The same with the power cuts that took place in America a few years back, when they shut off an entire grid along the coast. I believe it was along New York and all that. It was just to see how people would react to it, and they do pull these experiments and these little stunts every now and then just to watch and observe and see how people generally react to these things. This is just another one of them. So, but usually, like I say, when the government is pulling stories like this out there and just trying to keep people, distracted from something, there's usually something more serious going. I said, usually 9 times out of 10, there's always some new form of legislation that's going through that's going through the House of Commons and whatnot. And I mean, the main thing at the moment is this bedroom tax that's apparently coming in April. Plus, the benefits system has been changed. Apparently now they've scrapped a load of revoked and scrapped a load of statutes allegedly, and now they are bringing in big changes to it to people's dole money and stuff. So they're definitely out to screw people over big style, and they're looking at causing a small level of chaos around the country over the coming months, I believe, with what they're doing. I mean, especially now with all these stories that are coming out over the meat issue as well. That our food's now contaminated, and now they're saying that it's not just horse meat we have to worry about. There's all sorts of things like that. It's all to keep people worried and scared and distracted all the time. It's usually because they've got something else going on behind the scenes that they don't want you paying attention to. So it's very important when you start to read stories like this, or some huge scandal comes out, you're looking the other way, and you shouldn't be. You should be watching them and seeing what they're actually getting up to. So anyway, what was the other story this week? Oh yeah, there was this jury case that apparently is for the first time it's happened in this country during is it the Vicky Price case? Apparently the jury has been discharged, been kicked off the case because allegedly they can't understand the implications of what's going on. The implications and the issues of the case well enough, so they've been kicked off. So that's going to be an interesting one to see what games they're playing with that, because they've already a few years back gave themselves the right not to hold people accountable without a jury trial in serious cases, because they use the excuse that a jury could be intimidated in certain trials, and that was so they could hold secret hearings without a jury being present. And these are little things that slowly creeping in on us. And I don't know much about this story. I only heard a little bit about it the other day, about this the jury being kicked, being discharged. Apparently, it's the first time, or the judge involved said that it was apparently the first time in 30 years he had to do such a thing. But the truth of the matter is, what jury does understand any of this when they're in court? A lot of the time, they just sit there nodding their heads, and they just want to get out of there as quickly as possible. And they couldn't care less what's going on. If someone's been accused, they will make their decision there and then within the first few seconds whether someone's guilty or not. And that's it. You're done. The first 2 or 3 seconds, it's over with in terms of what verdict they're going to come back with in many cases. And a few years back, I went and actually did jury service. I'm surprised they actually called me up. And during I won't talk about the actual trial itself, but an incident, well, not an incident happened, but during a trial, one of the barristers turned around and said, "There's been an issue of law that's just been raised." And the moment he said that, the judge went, "Right, that's it, jury leave," and kicked us all out of the room. Now, apparently, because it was an issue of law that had just been raised, the jury wasn't allowed to hear what this issue was, which I found incredible, because at the end of the day, if these laws supposedly apply to us and we're sitting there as a jury over somebody else, then what is it that they think that they can hide from us or not tell us, and then at the same time drag us back in and say you've got to convict somebody or not convict somebody based on what they're saying? And I found that incredible. And when I asked about what it was about, why is it we got kicked out? They said, "Oh, well, it's an issue of law, and the public can't hear that." I mean, how bonkers is that? In the end, I got myself off that case anyway. I didn't actually stay on for the full, throughout the entire trial. But that's what you see go on in courts. If ever you've done jury service, this is what happens sometimes. A case will just be stopped, the jury will be kicked out because they've got an issue to discuss, and they'll say, "Well, it's an issue of law. You can't hear this. It's between us." And they treat it as if it's some deep dark secret you're not meant to know about. Well, if that's the case, then what right do they have to say to us that we have to believe what they're telling us is true and right, and at the same time, decide the fate of somebody's life based on that? It's it's quite ridiculous, isn't it? But there you go. But these things go on. So I mean, I know when I was on jury service, I was probably the only one out of the lot of them that had the best understanding of what was really going on there. And when I tried to talk to many of them about it and explain what was going on, they didn't want to know. And this was the thing. They don't understand the law any better anyway. So regardless of this judge kicking this jury off this particular case, you find that most juries are totally ignorant of what's really going on in that courtroom. And you've got to remember they're false there. They're false there, or they'll get thrown in the cage without a jury. So much for a civic duty, or an alleged duty that you have that they can't prove exists. That they're forcing you to partake in. They're basically forcing you at the barrel of a gun to partake in their little sham trials to give the impression that what they're actually doing is valid and legitimate when it ain't. There you go. Right. Oh yeah. I wanted to mention there was a blooper that I made a little while back. I was on I think it goes back a couple of weeks ago. I was on I believe it was a talk show radio, um, a show, and I was only on for about 20 minutes. I think that the video got hooked up on YouTube, and I actually gave the wrong I stated the wrong radio station that I'll be broadcasting a new show on, so do forgive me for that. I made a blooper and I got it wrong. I don't know what the hell made me say the radio station I did, but there you go. It was just one of those things. So just to remind you on that, remind you of that one if ever you do get to hear it. Yep, I cocked up and I said the wrong one. And I don't know why. I don't know what made me say it, but there you go. It was just one of those things. But right, so other issues this week. Something that's come up this week that I've been not paying much attention to, but only in the last couple of days it's caught my attention more. There's been this OPPT group that have started it in certain groups, and apparently they have a website now. And I've had a lot of people contact me about this, sending me links and alleged radios interviews with these people involved in this. I believe it's something called the something People's Trust, Personal Public People's Trust, or whatever it's bloody called. Anyway, OPPT they go under, and what they're claiming is that they have allegedly served documents on certain agencies in America, be it the banks or certain agencies in government, and they've declared all banks and all governments around the world. Apparently, they've only issued this paperwork allegedly in America, and yet they're claiming that they have foreclosed on all governments around the world. And banks, all corporations, the lot, and they reckon, somehow this has freed us all now, and we're entitled to a huge paycheck, and all our troubles are over with now, that we're all free. And I think it's a load of old bull myself. I've had a couple of people send me some links, and I listened to a recording with Tammy Pepperman. She's meant to be a UK or an ex-UK barrister, I think. If I've got that wrong, someone can please remind me. But basically, what's happened is that she actually, did an interview the other day. I found it on one of the groups. I'm sure if you hunt around for it, you can find it easy enough. What it is that she's basically been talking about this herself, and she's finding it all a little bit too good to be true, and it's not. There's no evidence to back up what's being claimed. And I'm beginning to think this myself, because I listened to some of the interviews of this alleged woman who's part of this group who did this, and she's claiming to be an ex solicitor or lawyer herself from America. And when I listened to most of that interview she gave with some other woman on some radio show, she wasn't giving anything of any detail away in terms of what she claims to have done. And how she's claimed this has any applicability to any of us. And she's very vague about everything. And then she started going into all this new age crap again about, how we're going to free ourselves because we're on a certain frequency and it's all about love and all that stuff. That's all well and good. This all old hands and sing kumbaya, but it's not really going to get us out of the trouble we're really in the world. And like I say, and I got nothing from it that actually convinced me that any of this is legitimate or it's got any real validity behind it. Um, so as far as I'm concerned, this OPPT stuff now is, I think it's a scam. I think they're just trying to pull the wool over our eyes. They're taking a piss basically, because I think what they're doing is that they're trying to show just how gullible and stupid a lot of people can be in buying into this and believing, oh yes, that's it. We've freed everyone now. Everyone's going to get a big fat paycheck for $5 million or 5 billion or whatever they claim. They reckon we're all entitled to each. And it's just for people. It's just to show the greed and stupidity of people. Because people are going to grasp after this and start saying, that's it, I just want me money, I just want me money. And they're going to be ignoring the fact that around the world there's people starving and dying in wars and God knows what, in poverty. And people are ignoring that. And this is how they know people react to this sort of thing. Just give me the check, just give me the money. It's all me, me, me. And this is what they're trying to expose. They're trying to expose the vast majority of the truth movement to be a bunch of freeloaders in that sense. And I'm not saying that they are, but this is the impression that I'm getting and what they're trying to at least portray us to be. They're trying to paint everyone with the same brush. And to me, it's just a big scam. It's just to take people's attention away from other things that are going on in the world, and it's working to a certain degree. There are small pockets of these groups that are really jumping all over this, and as far as I'm aware as well, the people who have actually set this thing up are actually asking for money themselves from people. And I've heard stories about people who have actually donated large sums of money to them, and some people have actually made themselves a lot more worse off in hope that they would get something back in return out of this. And I think that, and obviously, it's not come about. So my views on this OPPT issue is, for me, it's a scam. We've got to ignore it, and stop buying into this crap. The thing is, if they foreclosed on governments all around the world, someone said the other day on one of these groups, oh well, that's it, they're all working illegally. Well, what about the people who work for these organisations who have no idea what they're really involved in? If it's true, you've just put a hell of a lot of people out of business, out of work. Now, where are they going to get their money from? They've got to wait for a check to come through for good old Uncle Sam to turn around and say, oh, yeah, you caught us out. There you go, there's your money. Sorry about that. What do you expect them to do? For crying out loud, we have a group of people called government who operate on violence. They're a group of liars, thieves and killers. Do you really think bits of paper are going to rid us of them and suddenly put money in our pockets and free the planet from slavery and all that? You really think bits of paper are going to do that? No, bits of paper don't do anything that people do. So I'm sorry, but I find this whole issue of they reckon they foreclosed on these companies and all that. Yeah, okay, they can believe whatever they want. They're in a they're up there with the fairies, as far as I'm concerned. If they honestly believe this crap's going to work, or it has worked, it has done something. If they want to come and prove me wrong, you're free to come on the show. Darkcity Radio. You can contact me on Autonomist123 if you want to prove me wrong and have some evidence and facts to back up that this alleged, this alleged whole trust thing that they've set up is true. Well, then please come on the show and I'd like to see it, or at least point me to where this evidence can be obtained and actually prove it beyond doubt that what they're saying is true and it's real. Because, like I say, up until that point, I'm going to call this a scam. And until someone can come prove me wrong, well, that's the standing I'm going to take on this, and I'm going to warn people not to get involved in any of this nonsense and not to get sucked into it. As good as it might sound, I mean, I can't really make heads or tail of what they're actually really claiming they've done, because none of it really makes any sense. When you try and get any details out of these people, and like I say, I've heard a few of these interviews that have gone on. This alleged woman isn't actually saying much. She's making certain claims, but she's not backing anything up with any detail. She's not providing any evidence, any proof, nothing. It's all just waffle. And I can't believe people are buying into this crap. I really can't. But there you go. So I'll say if anybody wants to come on to the show, maybe next week, and wants to try and prove me wrong, what's going on here, or at least I'm not saying I've actually proven anything, but from our point of view, this is all nonsense. There's been no facts proving any of this is valid, applicable, or what they're claiming is true. Um, so if anybody wants to come on the show next week and actually, bring some evidence forward and show and show that this actually, is the real deal, then please feel free to do so. So anyway, it's coming up to 1:45 now. I'll stick a bit of music. Well, actually, I'll sign off now. I don't think there's much point in me carrying on for much longer. I feel like I'm losing my voice anyway. And the show's been a bit messed up today anyway because I wasn't able to get it started when I wanted to. So and we wasn't able to get calls on either. So, but that'll be me signing off for this week, and I'll be back again next week. That'll be the No State Project Reloaded. It'll be a repeat of Mark's Saturday night show. That'll be with all the meta content in it, as we call it. With all the off air chat and talk. So and that'll be commercial free, so you can listen to the show properly without any interruptions, and it's a far better way to listen to what's going on and learn from it. And we'll keep you informed as the new stuff that's going on the No State project. We've still got a couple of issues we're dealing with in this country, and we've got some issues and court hearings coming up in the next few weeks. And hopefully we'll get back to you, and hopefully we'll have some successes to come back with from those. Hopefully. So that's me signing off for now, and I'll catch you all again next week. That's at 1:00 on Darkcity Radio, and that's me done for now. So I'll see you all again next week. Goodbye for now.